Well, it's Black History Month in America, and I'd like to give you a talk on a chapter out of my new book, Measuring Muhammad. Now, I want to talk to you about a history, a 1400-year history that includes black history that is not known. Let's establish some facts. In Islam, it is Sunnah that is the perfect path to enslave Kafirs, but you cannot enslave Muslims. The way the process works is it's part of jihad. Jihad kills the strong members of the tribe or village, and then the rest surrender and they become enslaved. That's also true, of course, that Kafirs enslave Kafirs. But Muslims don't enslave because Kafirs did it, but because Muhammad did it. Now, all cultures supported slavery in many fashions. Why? Well, there's a lot of rough, hard work that needs to be done, and before there was machines and engines, it had to be done by human beings, muscle power. And so the way to get more muscle was either have more children or enslave others. Now, Muhammad is the perfect model. He was involved in every aspect of slavery. He sold them wholesale, retail, gave them as gifts, received them as gifts. He enslaved innocent Kafirs. He had white slaves, Arab slaves, black slaves, sex slaves. He stood by while slaves were beaten to get information out of them. And he used the sale of slaves to buy armaments. The way this happened, for instance, in Medina after he defeated the third tribe of Jews, he executed all the adult males, and then the children and the females were sold in wholesale lots, and he used that money to buy armor and horses. Muhammad's favorite slave was a white Christian girl who bore him a son, Ibrahim. Muhammad gave out the rules on how to rape female captives, the so-called those whom your right hand possesses, according to the Quran, depending on whether they were having their period, they were pregnant, or married. A slave made his first pulpit. I find that ironic. He had a slave tailor, a slave cook. Now, some will say, well, look, these were just the customs of the times. But this ignores a fact. Islam is based on the Quran and the Sunnah is eternal. It is not a historical incident. Muslims may not believe in slavery, but they cannot say it is wrong because it's in the Quran, the Sirah, and the Hadith, and it is practiced today in Africa. A year after I graduated from undergraduate school, the Meccan slave market was closed. This was 1964. And what was the highest priced slave sold on the Meccan slave market? A white woman. Why? It is Sunnah. Since Muhammad's favorite sex slave was white, that means it is Sunnah to prefer whites for sex slavery. Now, every single slave that was sold in North America and South America that came from the west coast of Africa was sold by Muslim slave traders. Every single one. Muslim involvement in slavery is permanent, but Kafir enslavement has been ended because of morals and machinery. What do I mean by machinery? Let's take cotton. Once cotton is picked, the seeds have to be removed, and it is a slow, tedious job. The cotton gin was invented, and all of a sudden it could be done cheaply and easily. The morals aspect comes in this way. The golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. No one volunteers to be a slave. So Islamic slavery is eternal because of it's done by Muhammad and found in the Quran. Now, this is Black History Month, and why is there no outrage about Muslims being involved in slavery? I taught for 8 years at a black university, and none of this history was taught. The only theory of slavery was it was evil white men on wooden ships on the west coast of Africa. But Islam traded slaves to the west, north, and East Africa. It was Christians who ended slavery, first the British and then the United States. An ignorant Episcopal bishop in England walked in chains to apologize for English involvement in slavery. Fine, but he should also take credit for the fact that Britain ended as well. Thomas Sowell, a great black American intellectual, estimates that there were 11 million slaves shipped across the Atlantic, and 14 million were sent to the Islamic nations of North Africa and the Middle East. I'd like to talk to you about the collateral damage of slavery. For every slave that hit the plantation, 5 others died. When the village was raided, only the strong were taken. The weak, the old, the sick, the children were left behind, and many died on the way. So for 25 million total enslaved, we have a death of 120 million Africans. Why isn't this known? Let me give you a small example as to why it's not known. A prison chaplain talked to me and said, how can we prevent the conversion to Islam of American blacks in prison? I said, very simple. He says, well, how do you do it? I says, you teach Muhammad was a slave trader, what he did and how he did it. He said, I couldn't do that. I said, why? He said, that would make people angry. So this is one reason that people don't want to talk about it. We need to understand that American history is involved in Islamic slavery in another way. The United States Marine were created to attack the slave trade in the Mediterranean. Our first Navy, 7 wooden frigates, was to deal with Islamic pirates in the Mediterranean who were enslaving Americans. But blacks are not the only deniers of slavery. Whites deny it and Hindus do as well. We need to study all aspects of Islam, including slavery, and it should be taught in all schools. If you're interested in this kind of material, buy my new book, Measuring Muhammad. Thank you.